Ever since I was a kid, I've been obsessed with... Let me explain. I once saw childhood friends with an accordion folder, and something about it was so enticing that I just had to have one. All that space, perfectly divided, tabs for each section, and then you can close it up and have your own little plastic briefcase. It sounds weird, but I was in love. I recall asking my mom for one at the store, but I think she underestimated my enthusiasm, and unfortunately I left empty-handed. By the way, I was in elementary school, so she was probably wondering what I was even gonna do with one, and honestly, I don't know. It was only when she saw that I was making my own from paper and glue that she realized, oh, she actually did want an accordion folder. And the rest was history. I finally got a real accordion folder, and I still have it somewhere in my childhood bedroom. But these days, I tend to use them to store cards and handwritten notes, prints, and other miscellaneous bits and pieces. There's something extremely satisfying about the organization system. It's a mini filing cabinet at your fingertips. And trust me, I don't have the space for an actual filing cabinet, so it's perfect. So, accordion folders. What's that have to do with this video? Well, let me introduce you to my problem. If I were a computer, I would have a million tabs open. Those tabs would consist of random questions like, when was the popsicle invented? Random snippets of songs playing, a calendar with half-written events scrawled onto it. You get the point. Or, to put it in a different context, how many of you save ideas on Instagram or send posts to yourself but never come back to them? Me. There's so much to keep track of, and sometimes keeping it in one place is hard. You find yourself writing fragments on sticky notes, only to look at them a few days later and have no idea what they mean. Your friend mentions something they want for their birthday, and maybe you write it in your notes app, but forget about it when the time comes to order it. Or maybe you have this amazing idea for a drawing in your head, but don't have the means to start it at that moment, and whoops, forgot to sketch it out, and it's gone. Look, maybe you don't have this problem. You might already have a system that works for you. Your calendars are neatly planned out, you have organized lists for all these instances, and you're one of the lucky ones who has only one tab open, or, better yet, no tabs at all. For those like that, I admire you, and I hope to be on your level one day. For those of you that don't have a system like that, maybe I can help. There are so many different ways to go about setting up something that works for you. It could be a planner, a notebook, maybe one of those wall calendars, or a bulletin board of organized chaos. So, why not use those? I'll give you my personal reasons. I usually shy away from planners because I never keep up with them. The dates go by, I forget to update it, and I end up getting a new one just to waste it again. You could argue that an undated planner is the solution, and perhaps, but in my mind, planners are mostly for dates and to-dos, and this is more than that for me. These are for the thoughts with no home, the ones that fall in the gaps of your mind like mere crumbs in a car seat. Never to be seen again. So, why not notebooks? Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm picky. I don't love how rigid they are for something like this, especially if they're thermal bound, because ripping out pages is just not satisfying. And spiral notebooks feel too insecure, like the pages could rip out at any moment. If I don't know if I want something to be permanent or not, this kind of throws things out of whack for me. Like I said, I'm picky. And with notebooks, you gotta start from scratch. For me, that blank page can be intimidating, and the amount of options can be overwhelming. I'll expand on this in step 2. So, anywho, here's my happy medium. Imagine an accordion folder, but palm-sized. Basically, a coupon holder. But instead of storing coupons, we're going to be storing the contents of your brain. So here's why I love it. It's super portable, can fit in your pocket. It's perfect for on-the-go situations where you can't access your desk or you don't want to use your phone. You're starting out with a physical structure, aka these separators. And it's extremely customizable. So let's go to step 1, the tabs. I recommend basing your tabs on categories you think about a lot, but maybe they don't belong on a calendar, in a planner, or on a to-do list. Maybe they're more vague ideas, or like things you send to yourself on Instagram. Things that are really exciting but you don't really have a place to put them. Take a moment to reflect and consider thoughts you have that often go to the wayside but are kind of juicy, and you eventually want to return back to them. And when I say juicy, I mean ideas that sound intriguing and fill you with a sense of excitement, concepts you want to eventually act on, but don't record quickly enough and they fall out of your head. So it could be places you see on Instagram, or DIYs you see on Pinterest, or just things you think about before you go to bed, but you never write them down. Or just random shower thoughts. For example, my tabs are art ideas, gifts, places, projects, routines, quotes, want to do/learn, and manifesting. Not sure how to brainstorm these categories? Sit down and grab 2 sheets of paper. On the first one, write down any thoughts or ideas you have off the top of your head. Try to fill the page up and don't overthink it. Once you're ready, you can do this next part a few ways. Personally, I like color coordinating. So I'd suggest grabbing different colored markers or highlighters and now try to make connections between specific thoughts. Maybe you see 2 about business ideas, highlight those in your business ideas color. Maybe you've written down a few jokes, highlight those with your jokes color. Get where this is going? Now take that second sheet and draw circles or make sections for each category. You don't have to translate your specific thoughts onto this page, you're just pulling out those categories. Alright, step 2, contents. You're 50% done, congratulations! You've just finished the hardest part, nailing down categories. Now, to go back and explain my aversion to notebooks for this specific thing, commonplace books do exist, where you write down all your ideas and whatnot, and I love that. But as someone whose brain is chaotic enough, and likes being able to make edits in a clean way, I prefer this accordion method. None of it's permanent. You can change out the tabs anytime you want, rewrite your categories, add new note cards, throw some away. It's evergreen, and you won't necessarily run out of pages. This should be able to last you a while, technically. With notebooks, I always fear I'll get to the bottom of the page of a section I've carved out for myself, and haven't given myself enough space to add more, and then I'm like, okay, it's gonna bleed into another section. So that's my take on that, but enough about my notebook fears. So, the actual contents. For me, I use flashcards. It reminds me of little recipe containers, and I think that's so cute. If you want to get fancy with it, you can use different color flashcards for each section. You can match them too if that's what you want to do. The folder is super customizable, and you can tailor it exactly to your needs. So now, if you followed along with the aforementioned exercise, you can take that first sheet full of thoughts and start a flashcard for each category. To give you an example of how I've done it, for this section called Gifts, I have separate flashcards for each person I know I'll be getting a birthday or Christmas present for. And then I'll fill it up as much as possible before I start a new one. And places I've gotten these ideas would be, again, like on Instagram, or maybe something they've texted to me, things I never really knew how to keep track of until I figured out this method. So then I'll fill it up as much as possible before I start a new one, and maybe I'll paperclip it together for the same person, but I haven't gotten that far. Now, for this section called Places, this is just one flashcard of places I want to visit that I saw on Instagram or Pinterest, or maybe a friend told me about. That being said, do what feels right for you. The whole point of this is to mold it exactly to your needs. If you want to write each idea on a separate flashcard, go for it. Maintenance. The only maintenance I would suggest is clearing out flashcards once they're no longer needed. And if you're like me and enjoy having a physical and a digital copy, you can get fancy with it and take photos of the cards, or transcribe them into a Word document, or even put them in Notion. Arguments. For those wondering why you wouldn't just translate these into a Word document or put them into Notion in the first place, all I can say is it's a preference. Personally, I love the feel of writing with pen on paper, and if I'm trying to spend less time on my phone, it's easier to just pull out a flashcard in that moment, add a note, and pop it back into the folder. It also gives me a sense of organization and helps me clear my mind. My notes tend to get super jumbled, and this has a physical aspect that forces me to categorize and separate my thoughts, and be very intentional about the whole process. At the end of the day, do what feels right to you. If using a notebook makes you happy for something like this, use that. If you already have a structure that you love, stick with it. Conclusion. The accordion folder is a simple and unique way to store your thoughts, clear the clutter, and hopefully close out some of those hypothetical tabs for you. Hopefully, after this, you can go to your Instagram messages and anywhere else you've stored ideas and just clear it out. And then you have them all in one place, they're actionable, and you can actually see them and use them. If you do end up trying this method, let me know what you think. If you have any questions about the process, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching.